It's Platt, and today we have a video 30 years in the making. That's next on Platt's Drink of the Week. Well, all right, guys, as usual, I'm kind of fired up for this video. What we have is Harvey's Bristol Cream. I purchased this bottle at $17.99. And it comes in at 17.5% alcohol by volume, so you decide if that's a good value. Little background on this video, why I said it's been 30 years in the making. I've been bartending roughly 30 years or so, and when I started bartending, we didn't have near as many bottles as you do now behind most bars, but you still had quite a bit. And I, of course, knew what Jim Beam was, and Jack Daniels, and Jose Cuervo, and Absolute Vodka. I knew all that even before I started bartending. But what I didn't know is a lot of those old dusty bottles, especially this really dark bottle that really showed the dust called Harvey's Bristol Cream. I had no clue what it was. It's kind of like in the Galliano category, and I'd ask older bartenders and like, old guys drink it. And that was kind of what I got. Luckily, over the last 30 years, I've learned a little bit more about the products behind the bar. And so that's why I say it's been about 30 years, because I looked through my content and realized I had not done anything on Harvey. So that's why we've got this video today. Real quick, let's read the bottle. Harvey's The Bristol Cream Solera Sherry. That's right, this is sherry. Originally, when I'd heard the term Bristol Cream, I thought Irish cream, but that is definitely not what we have here. For those of you that might not be familiar, sherry is a fortified wine made with white wine grapes. Now, color-wise, don't think, Pinot Grigio or Sauvignon Blanc. That is not at all, but it is made from white wine grapes from the Jerez, J-E-R-E-Z. I know I'm mispronouncing that. Jerez region of Spain, or Jerez, I think, closer to how you pronounce that. Now, the term sherry itself is an anglicized version of the term of the region Jerez. The English referred to the wine coming out of that area. Originally, they couldn't say Jerez, they would just call it Jerry, then it became eventually sherry. And that's why it's known as sherry wine. Now, the region and the wine that comes from Jerez is DOP, Denomination Original Protectada, or something like that. It's protected. It is similar to the term cognac in France, champagne in France, tequila, scotch, what have you. You're not going to see sherry from other places. I think they kind of get the California exemption. California has California style champagne. I think some of the makers get to use the term port, even though it's not from Portugal. I think sherry kind of falls in that category too. Now, real quick, let's talk about the difference between it and its probably companion product, port. They're both fortified wines. Port is a fortified wine that they'll start the fermentation process of the wine, stop it somewhere around halfway through with the addition of grape spirit, thus leaving a lot of residual sugars that don't get fermented out. In the sherry production, they let the wine naturally ferment out and then add the spirit. So these sherries tend to be dry, but depending on the winemaker, there's still some residual sugars left over. It's not bone dry in any way, and there are varying layers of sweetness, but compared to port, in general, not near as sweet. Now, how the process works is the winemaker will use the grapes they're allowed to use in sherry making, let the fermentation process go through, and then they decide where they go from there. And they generally go two different directions. If they want to use the wine for a certain style, they may add a little bit of grape spirit, up to around 15.5%, but fermentation can still occur, and you get a yeast layer on top of that wine that they've put in barrels to age. That protects the wine from oxidizing. However, the winemaker then could change his mind and say, I'm going to add additional grape spirit to where you kill those yeast and we don't get that yeast layer. And in the barrel, the wine oxidizes. Now, in most things, you generally want to avoid oxidization, but they utilize oxidization to add different flavor compounds to the spirit, a certain complexity, or I say spirit to the wine. So those are two general routes. And they'll put them in these barrels, what they call the Solera system. It's generally a 6-barrel system, 1 on top, 2 in the middle, 3 in the bottom. they'll continuously add new wine into the top, and then it flows down. It kind of blends with older wines, and again, kind of breathes in that barrel until you finally kind of get the end result that gets blended together to the style of sherry the winemaker is producing. Now, as far as a little history on it, there had been wine produced in the region, the Jerez region of Spain, since about 1100, 1000 BC. The Phoenicians had brought winemaking way before the Romans even came in the area. Move ahead to the early 700s, and the Moors invaded, and one of the things they brought was distillation. So now we have a place that makes wine, in Spain, and now they have distillation. Now they have the tools to make sherry, and over the next few hundred years, what we think of today as sherry was developed over that time. As far as styles go, again, we can go from dry to sweet. On the drier end, you have Finos and Manzanilla style. On the sweeter end, you have Muscatel and Pedro Jimenez style. Now, this particular product is a cream sherry. It is on the sweeter end, and it will have some Pedro Jimenez and Muscatel blended in to get that sweetness. Now, as far as this particular product goes, company is John Harvey and Sons, and it was founded in 1796 in Bristol, England. John was a wine merchant and sherry blender, and over the next 60 years, him and his sons basically continued to perfect their blend to where they finally created what they were aiming for at the time was a dessert-style sherry, something sweeter, thus the cream sherry, and they kind of perfected that style. And by 1880, they had decided that is it, and for the most part, this product has kind of stayed the same since then. So about almost 150 years now, quite impressive. The company itself was sold to Beam Global in 2010, so it was under that corporate umbrella for a while, and in 2014 sold to the Alliance Global Group out of the Philippines, and that's who currently owns it. So that's a little background on that. Again, 30 years. I'm sure I know I've had sherry before. I'm sure I've tried Harvey's, but it's been like forever and ever, so I don't remember it. So I'm kind of eager to finally, again, try this old dusty bottle. Let's crack her open. All right, so as we can see, this is not, it's white wine grapes, but it definitely doesn't look like white wine. I wish some of my whiskeys had this color. Yeah, kind of a dark, well-aged kind of bourbon, or, color-wise. All right, nose, I pick up a little wood. You could almost smell viscosity on there. It kind of reminds me of port. When I think port, I always kind of think leather and, kind of dark room and, a dark bar, leather, stuff like that. And I'm getting a little of that too. Again, this is on the sweet end of sherry, so it's going to lean a little closer to port than the drier ones. Let's go ahead and jump in. Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. Not near as sweet and viscous as port, but plenty of sweetness though. Real cool little funkiness. It's weird. I kind of get basement funk. Again, a lot of wood paneled rooms. Leather. I do taste, I guess, some oxidization in there, in the sense that, again, there's a funky, I've drank home brewing, stuff like that. I've oxidized plenty of products, so I kind of know that flavor. And I get that kind of funkiness. It can impart, again, you also pick up some of that barrel, that's why I'm constantly kind of envisioning, a dark bar with plenty of wood. You get the wood from the time in the barrel. There's plenty of sweetness, again, because they probably rolled in some Pedro Jimenez in this for sure. And you definitely get that sweetness. Nice, complex sweetness, but the viscosity is not overwhelming. You could sip this for a while, and then, there's sometimes when you drink something like a port or real sweet liqueurs kind of post-dinner, you almost feel like you have to brush your teeth afterwards. This is not that sweet, but plenty nice sweetness. perfect for a post-dinner drink or a dessert style digestif or whatever, but again, not near as viscous as port. I'm probably going to spend some time with this bottle tonight for sure. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or things from the liquor store you'd like me to try, please leave me in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.